Okay, here we go, some help, some hints for the first hire homework sheet. For those of you who don't have the sheet, then here is a copy of the questions. First question asks us to write down the gradient and the y-intercept for each of the following straight lines. Now, if the equation was in the format y equals mx add c, then we could write down the gradient straight away, because it would just be this number here, and this number at the end would tell us the y-intercept. So looking at the first equation, this one, is it in that form of y equals mx plus c? Yep. So we can immediately write down what the gradient is, and we can immediately write down where it crosses the y-axis, 0, 4. Okay, the answer isn't 4 for the y-intercept, the answer is 0, 4, because it's a coordinate. Okay, so we get that just by looking at it. Now the second one, that is not in the form of y equals mx plus c. So what you're going to have to do for this one is you're going to have to do a wee bit of rearranging. So the positive 3 is going to have to go over to that side, and the positive 6 is going to have to go over to that side. Then you'll have it in the form y equals. Then you can write down the m, then you can write down where it crosses. And then similarly with the last one, it's a little bit more complicated, because the minus 4 has to go over, then the 12 has to go over, and then you have to deal with the 3 in the front. So you've got a wee bit of work to do till you get it to the form y equals. Once it's in that form, we can write down m, we can write down where it crosses the y-axis. For question 2, write down the equation of lines through the point which is parallel and perpendicular to this line. So again, we've got a line here. Do we know what its gradient is? Answer is no. But if I do a little rearranging, so if I take the negative x over and it becomes positive x, beside the positive 10, and then if I divide by 2, I get y equals a half x add 5. Now I can tell by looking here that the gradient is actually equal to negative a half. Once I know the gradient, because the question tells me the point it's going through, I can write down its equation. Now remember, you've got two to do. You've got to do the parallel one, and you've got to do the perpendicular one. So the parallel one, you're going to use the gradient in the question, which is a half, and you're going to use the 0.02 to work out its equation. The perpendicular one, you're going to have to take that parallel gradient from up here, and you're going to turn it upside down and change the sign. You're still going to use 0.2 to get the answer. Question 3, find the equation of the line which joins these 2 points. So work out MAB, which you can do easily. You know that it's going through A or B, so you can then stick one of those points and the gradient into your y minus b equals mx minus a formula to get the answer. That one should be easy. Question 4, find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of A and B. Well, there's A and B, that's given in the question. So we're trying to find the perpendicular bisector, so we're looking for this line here that crosses through the midpoint at 90 degrees. So we need to find the midpoint between A and B, first of all. Then we need to find the gradient of A and B. Then we need to find the perpendicular gradient, and then lastly we need to do y minus b equals mx minus a. So if you follow those steps, you should be able to do that question. Question 5, one of these big questions. Find the coordinates of D, which is a point of intersection between the altitude through A and the median through C. Well, the altitude through A is the line which is perpendicular to side BC. The median through C is the line that goes through C, which cuts this side in half. So if we deal first of all with the altitude through A, then we're going to find the gradient of BC, we're going to find the perpendicular gradient, and then we're going to find the equation. For the median through C, we're going to find the midpoint of AB, then we're going to find the gradient using that point and the point C, and then we're going to find the equation. And then once you've done that, next thing you do is you take these two equations and you do your simultaneous equations on them to get x equals and y equals. Now the only thing I will say about this one is when you're doing the altitude question, you'll find that the gradients are going to be 0 and undefined, but you should know how to deal with that. Question 6. If a point which you've got, -1y, lies on a straight line, then it's what we call it satisfies the line. In other words, I can substitute into the equation the x and the y numbers. So the -1 is going to go in here and the y is going to go in here. So I end up with 2y plus 3 times -1 equals 5. And then if I solve that equation, I end up with y equals, and I've answered the question. Lastly, number 7, find the equation of this straight line. It's a straight line. For a straight line we need two things. We need to know a gradient and we need to know a point that it passes through. Do we know either of these things? Yep, we know from the question that it goes through -3, 4. Right, it tells us that. We know this point here. How are we going to work out the gradient? Well, it doesn't tell us the gradient straight off, but it gives us an angle. And we know the formula for the angle is that the gradient is equal to tan the angle. So in our case it will be m equals tan 135. Now if you get your calculator and work out what tan 135 is, that'll tell you the gradient. We know what the point is from up here. We can then just plug the gradient from your calculator, the point from up there, into your y minus b equals mx minus a, and simplify that. Okay.